All right, welcome to We Are Something Else, episode 2.
We are something else.
This is Kaleo.
Yo, this is CB. What's up?
Tonight's topic is Love's in Need of Love today. All right. We got something else. Chris, CB,
Yes,
how are you?
I am doing well, my man. How are you doing tonight, Phil?
I'm great, man. Can't complain. Our producer, DJ Supa Fly
Yes, sir.
TnT.
What up?
Once
How are you,
again,
sir?
in the house.
Glad to be here, baby. I'm good.
Thanks
All
again
right.
for the hospitality.
Yes, sir, man.
So before we get into anything, did you go see Black Panther?
I did. Last night, 11 o'clock showing. Went and saw it. Yeah.
Did you see it yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet. Just don't give me any spoilers.
Okay. No spoilers.
No
I'm
spoilers.
trying to
No
wait
spoilers.
until
No
it calms
spoilers.
down.
The only spoiler I'm gonna tell you is people are dressing up like they're going back to the motherland when they're seeing
They're
this
gonna
movie.
bring back the kente cloth and all that. It's gonna be like
I don't even know if that's a spoiler at this point. That's on the news.
Exactly.
I
People
wish-
are making the evening news.
I wish I had plotted and planned and got my stuff together because I want to see somebody. I would have been the guy to take it to the next level. I want the girls with the rose petals at my feet
been
as I
flaming
walk
people, though.
through the theater. I wanted to do that.
They've been flaming people who've been mixing Coming to America and Black Panther.
Hey, look, it's. So I saw a meme that says the time has come to decide whether you want to be part of Zamunda or Wakanda.
Exactly.
And it don't even matter right now. I saw Black Panther yesterday, and it was everything that I thought it was going to be. But the little confusing part, well, people do the most regardless.
Right.
And the fact that they're getting all dressed up in kente cloth and I love that. I love that because people do the Harry Potter for sure.
Star Wars. I've witnessed many a lightsaber battle in
Right.
the parking garage while we're waiting to get in.
Exactly.
But
You're
this
just
is
not used to black people acting like
Right,
that,
right.
basically. And
This is-
en masse.
and this is like a superhero
Out of
movie.
black people, right?
Right. This is a superhero movie. I think half the people who saw it didn't know it was a superhero
Right.
movie. They were
Even
just
thugs nerding out.
it's just like just do it. We're gonna do it. But you know what? We call upon black people. They're gonna show up in numbers. I haven't seen this many
Yes.
since Obama was
I
trying to
said
go
the
into the
same thing to
office.
My parents. Said the same thing to my parents tonight. I was like, "Yo, this is just like when Obama got elected," which was like it took like 4 hours to vote, like in 2008.
Right.
There was actually people coming out.
Yeah, I mean, in mass numbers, it's
Right.
crazy. I mean,
Right.
I posted a couple pictures from my experience yesterday.
Yo.
Mentally, I just want to say, what if there was a white dude and a dashiki or anything that was bold enough to show up at the theater like this, and just so happened that I was in line getting popcorn. I look to my left, and there's this average white dude in like kente cloth like shirt, and he's serious about it. I'm like, more power to you, man. That's what we need
Exactly,
right there.
yeah.
Yo, you posted that picture yesterday on Instagram, and I had to do a double take because a girl that I went to high school with, African, ended up marrying a white dude, and she posted pictures of them being there, and I had to check to make sure the white dude you saw was not him because he was wearing something similar, and I was like, "Yo, double take, hold up." But there's people showing out, man.
Exactly.
There's people showing out. It was great.
They made their budget back in 2 days.
Yeah,
he
man.
had $200 million to budget, and I think they're at 218 already.
They were courtside last night for the dunk contest
Oh, God.
as they were just making budget. Like that's literally,
just killing it.
yeah. Because they put. Did you watch the dunk contest last night?
Yeah.
I mean,
I watched it. You didn't like it?
Nah.
It was okay.
It was decent. I've seen worse. You
No,
know what I'm
definitely.
saying?
There was those.
Within the last 5 years, there have definitely been worse. Not even given a big timeline.
Yeah.
But I did think it was dope that Depot brought the mask out.
Yeah.
I did think that was dope. But personally, I felt that there was absolutely no reason why Dennis Smith Jr. should not have been in the final.
So that was I think
he did the best dunk of the entire night, and he was not in.
That was the reverse or the 360
between the legs.
Yeah, when we switched hands.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that was crazy. And then the judges,
they sniped him on his first joint where
Khaled was a savage.
Khaled, man, I'm like, dude, this dude is straight hating the whole night, like stuff that he know he can't do.
Khaled was day last night.
He was,
you know, want to see him win.
They brought out
Khaled was day.
They brought out the video of him catching that ball. I don't know if it was at a like a celebrity game or a high school game or whatever, but then he gets on the court and he's like moving around and dribbling and stuff, and he looks terrible. And they're like, no one should ever let this man judge another basketball competition again.
I mean,
I don't know what dunk it was, but there was one dunk, because he was shortchanging everyone the entire night, right?
Of course.
And then there was one dunk where everyone else gave a 9 and he gave a 10. And I was like,
really?
For real, Khaled? Like, that's the one? That dunk? Exactly. I don't even remember what it was, but it was definitely not worth a 10.
The formatting has changed so many times. The fact they changed it too many times that it hurts it, because you should have had one more round leading into the final round.
Like
I remember when MJ and Dominique would go at it. It sounded like it was a 6th round.
It's because they have like 8 other events beforehand that they have to squeeze in. You know what I mean? They have to cut out that stuff. Yeah. But no, I'm with you. I like the semifinals and then the
just
finals.
give me more, because it feels like they have they're pre-gamed up. They know what they're gonna do, and then a miss, no matter how tight the dunk is, it automatically puts them out. Like if they miss, I'm like, I want to see, at least give me your top 3. Everybody in the first round do 3, and then judge it from that way, because you only get like 1 or 2 the first round, and then they have to move it on.
Right. And I know people are they can be really quick to point out that I am not tall. Right. So yeah, I was hating on the fact that Larry Nance was in the final.
He had one of the tightest dunks.
And his pops was there.
And I'm not gonna hate, because some of his dunks were dope.
They were.
But I'm saying there's a reason why it's not as impressive when I see like some big 400-pound dude bench pressing 400 pounds. It's not the same as seeing a 200-pound dude. Right. So it's not the same as seeing 6'7", 6'8", however tall Larry Nance is, dunking the ball, as it is seeing
why?
A dude who's 6'4", 6'3".
Because he doesn't have that fly or that air effect.
Right.
Michael Jordan was able to put air underneath his feet to make you look like he was just in the air forever. And especially when they slowed it down to replay it, it's like, dude, this guy's like literally flying, because we're like in a 10-second replay and he's still in the air.
Yeah, it's also like he did a lot of things while he was in the air, like moving his limbs around that makes it look more dramatic.
And you just don't appreciate that now.
I literally watched a video on YouTube last night after the dunk contest of all the dunks in the dunk contest history that have attained to 50.
Yeah.
And I was like, and so some of them, there was a lot of repeats. Jordan from the free throw line, he had like 3 or 4 of them.
Right.
Dominique had a couple of the same. Jordan, when he cocks it from the side, when he comes from the side, he's like basically parallel to the ground.
Right.
I mean, and some of that stuff was dope. And I was like, man, this dunk contest leaves just a little bit to be desired.
I thought that if Oladipo and a couple other guys had landed the dunks on their first try, it would have been a much better show.
Yep.
But I was impressed by the stuff they were actually doing and missing, like the one reverse where he like caught and he was blind.
Yeah.
That was dope. If he had landed it.
If it lands it, it's one of the best dunks to ever go down. If he misses it, it's just one that's going to ruin. Now he's in his head like, oh my God, I have to make this, and then from there it's just. And the rest of your night goes down.
Right.
To me, they say the best dunkers are in the dunk contest. Granted, they probably hurt, but to me, Zach LaVine is.
Yeah, I mean, he's coming back.
Yeah,
him and Aaron Gordon,
if they could both actually be healthy for a dunk contest, if they're both healthy next year,
curtains.
Let them, because my brother is convinced that Zach LaVine is the greatest dunk contest dunker of all time. Like seeing some of his stuff, and so we're watching those 50 dunks last night, right? And arguably, maybe my personal favorite is Jason Richardson.
Jason Richardson had some.
Well, so Vince did it once, right?
Yeah.
And that was it. That's all he needed, right?
No, which were amazing. And as far as I'm concerned, Vince is the greatest in-game dunker of all time. Because the stuff that he was doing in the dunk contest, he wasn't afraid to try to do that on somebody in the Olympics. Right. You know, jump over some 7'2".
He jumped over the dude.
The greatest in-game dunk I've ever seen. So, no disrespect to Vince. I just personally think that, and this is going to touch on episode 1 real quick, the Jadakiss of dunk contest dunkers is Jason Richardson.
I respect that.
I
respect that. Yes.
People act like he didn't throw out some stuff that had never been seen before at the time, and
he was definitely, he could maneuver in the air better than most. I'm still gonna give it to Vince.
Right.
Vince was able.
I'm not gonna hate on that.
Yeah, no. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. To me, Vince was probably
him versus, and people forget that Steve Francis was in that dunk contest.
Steve Francis was,
and threw out some crazy stuff.
Steve had one of the best slam dunk contests ever,
right?
And lost
because
you basically put him in so many other dunk contests, and he wins by a landslide.
Right. Incredible, man.
It was ridiculous. It was that, and the fact that he went to the University of Maryland, and so
go Terps,
rooting extra hard for him out here, because it was like, hey, man,
But now, where's Steve at? That's the man. It's like the harder they fall kind of thing, and then Vince is still balling at 42.
Still love
still
you,
in the league, still dunking on dudes.
Franchise.
He dunked last week, and they caught him on camera smiling as he was landing because he was like, "Yeah, I still got it."
He still got the hops. I mean, you got to respect that career. He knew that he didn't want to be known for one thing, so he adjusted his game, and and he's still around.
Yeah.
Switching up a little bit. I was reading a headline the other day. I think we were in the office when I showed this to you.
Okay.
It says, guy gives the love of his life one of his kidneys. And then she turned down his proposal.
Proposal, you mean a wedding
marriage proposal, yes. So I got a great big chuckle when I read this because I'm like, if you're that guy, not only are you heartbroken, you're one kidney less.
His kidney broken, bro.
You can't get that back.
It's like, hey,
it's not like getting your ring back, Joe. Like, get that kidney back.
Exactly.
Joe.
Really.
I'm
gonna need that. I'm gonna need that back.
You got receipts.
Exactly. I'm like, what do you?
I
mean, if you're this guy, I don't know. How do you feel?
Good for him for being willing in any circumstance to give up a body part for somebody else.
Absolutely.
Big credit to that. I would hope that before he made that decision that he would be cool, because obviously I don't know the circumstance,
right,
that he would be okay with this outcome, right? Because you better believe I'd probably be expecting something in return. That's
got to be a conversation you got to have before you get that far. That's like when you go out with a woman and like, look, I'm gonna take you to the most expensive meal ever. You're going to eat good tonight. If he's thinking that it's going to lead to the bedroom afterwards, and she's thinking,
why these dudes so thirsty? Like, when did we go from like, I'm going to take you out, buy you a nice meal, so I'm going to give you like a functioning organ.
Right. This organ I'm about to give you says that you're mine forever.
Right.
Like,
but the pussy is fire. Like, no, bro. Come on, man.
It's like caveman. Like, I'm going to beat you over the head with this club, and I'm going to drag you back to my lair, and you're mine forever. It just don't work that way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. Dudes act like girls don't get friend zoned too. Like that. That's very funny to me. Like, us guys act like, no, if this ain't the one, it's not the one. And start freaking out like there's never going to be anything else ever. And it's like, come on, man. Like,
definitely other fish in the sea, man.
Definitely. I thought that was funny.
I mean, shout out to both of y'all though for being married and finding y'all's up to this point.
I'm gonna give my wife my kids.
Both y'all got kids too?
Hey,
yeah, well,
I got to.
So that kind of segues into where we're at tonight.
Yeah,
so
true.
Love. And not just any love. We want to, love is love, but now we want to, let's break that down a bit more because it's lots of love out there right now that gets the side eye, that gets criticized,
still, that
gets the black eye, and at one point was probably illegal in certain areas of the United States.
We know for a fact. We know for a fact it was illegal.
Right.
It might still be illegal in some states.
Exactly. Well, they'll treat it like it's illegal.
Yeah.
So, interracial dating, like, I think that it needs to be addressed. I mean, we're not experts on it, or, I mean, we may be a small part of it. We're a small part of it, but our opinion is probably worth sharing or talking about, because I think we all in this room right now have some type of experience with it. Chris, I'll let you, CB, I'll let you start with interracial dating.
I appreciate that, Phil. Because I am a direct product of interracial dating. My mom is from the Philippines. My dad is basically every bit of all the white. My dad is a big white dude. All of Europe makes up my dad's heritage. And one of the things that's really funny about that is my dad spent 30 years in the Army. You know, my dad served 30 years. And so when I meet new people and, you know, I'm talking about my parents and stuff, you know, I bring up the fact that my dad was in the military, and mixed race family. My mom's Filipino. So immediately they go to, oh, so did your dad meet your mom while he was deployed? And I'm like, actually, they met when they were in high school, because my mom got here when she was like 3 years old. And we're not one of those half white, half Filipino families. Like, that's not.
Exactly.
Nah, man.
He didn't go snatch her up.
Yeah.
Out the jungle, no. Right?
Yeah, no. My mom found him. You know, Montgomery County. They both went to Seneca Valley High School. You know, met there in the early 80s, late 70s, whatever. But, you know, at the time, I like to joke that my parents are one of the original interracial couples, because, you know, it wasn't, obviously there was others, but, you know, to me, they were the first.
Right. I mean, because growing up, I'm assuming in that household, you don't know anything. You don't know anything else. You don't know what's outside of that world, which nowadays I would appreciate if a lot of people probably didn't focus, you know, just they focus on what's outside of that world, because to get it at home is great. I mean, you need that background to know that we're all equal, no matter race, color, creed, whatever. We're all equal. I'll share mine. My grandfather, Hawaiian, born and raised in Hawaii, one of the last pure Hawaiians there was, military. And now this one does end the way that everybody thinks that yours ended. He was in the military, got stationed here, and he met my grandmother through some friends in D.C. And my grandmother's African American, Native American, you name it. So they met, they fell in love, they had three kids at that point. So it's weird. So my grandmother already was married prior to me, my grandfather. She had 3 in her first marriage. So not only did my grandfather take on 3 other kids, they had 3 more. So, you know, that's my story. But back then, again, it was still probably in those times, you're talking about, I'm assuming, I'm going to go back to say 50s maybe. That's still dicey, no matter where you are. Right. Marcus, I'm gonna let you tell your story.
Yeah, fast forward to 2018. I am married to a white woman. You know,
got some beautiful kids.
Thank you. Yeah, we've been grinding it out for, gosh, I don't want to do the math, man, but it's been a while. Like,
especially don't want to get it wrong.
20 years, exactly. It's been a while. But yeah, it's been, I think, you know, where our story is now, I mean, it's much more common. So I really don't know that we faced a lot of, you know, scrutiny or, you know, issues with the public at large. We've dealt with a lot of things personally and personal in our families, but nothing, you know, too serious that your stories that your parents or your grandparents might have dealt with. Right.
So that kind of leads me into, because the wife was supposed to be here tonight. Hey, Bree, how are you? So I had a couple questions I prepared, but I figured, I mean, we can all answer these questions, or I'm going to direct a couple of them to you. Yeah. Because it does speak on just maybe some inside knowledge. So how long did you say you known each other for about 20 plus years?
Yeah, since we met in 2001.
Okay.
And then
Was
we
that high
started
school?
in a relationship. No, I was in college. I was in college. She was, I believe, in college as well.
Okay.
At the time, or just working. We met at a party. And kind of was
Like
just
all
like
great
off
love
and on.
stories.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. You know, so and we were just kind of like seeing each other for maybe a couple years, but not really together.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what really kind of made me decide to get into a relationship. Like I saw my grandfather passed away, and I kind of watched near the end of his life, maybe the last 6 months of his life, my grandmother take care of him.
Right.
And like kind of seeing that made me kind of realize, yo, like, you know, life isn't about like, you know, running around trying to put numbers on the board, blah, blah, blah. Like, you really want somebody there to take care of you at the end of your life. And however you treat, you know, to being the person that you are with at the time is going to be the way you should be expected to be treated at the end of your life.
Right,
So
right,
like kind of having that was like, yo, I need to, you know, straighten up, and, you know, decided to, you know, asked her if she wanted to be in a relationship, and, you know, we've been together ever since, man.
So was she the first white woman you ever dated?
No.
No. Okay. So
but I was like, I'm kind of like equal opportunity.
right.
You know what I mean? Like it's a mixed bag with me. Like,
right. No, and that's how I feel everybody should be. I mean, but there are some people, black and white and whatever, that feel like, yeah, no, you shouldn't date outside your race. You know, that's against the code. That's
All those people will have a problem with me because I'm coming into the relationship being mixed race.
right.
So, you know, you don't, at least when it comes to me, you don't got much of a choice. And yeah, I mean, it's, at least for nowadays, I do think that it's way more socially acceptable to being, you know, open to everything, which my philosophy has always been, you know, why would you miss out on an opportunity for some experiences that you might not get if you're closing yourself off?
yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, that's just me personally. People are entitled, obviously, to, you know, if they feel like, if you're Asian, you only want to date Asian. If you're white, you only want to date white. If you're black, you only want to date black. Like, whatever. All I know is that doesn't help Chris out at all, because
There's no category for me.
because I don't have my own category.
There's no box to check.
No,
Right.
no. And actually, funny story about that, real quick. When I was in like 6th grade, and we're doing standardized testing, and shout out standardized testing, man. Like, we get to the box, it's like, all right, our teacher's just going over like, this is how you fill everything out. You put your names, blah blah blah. And it got to, you have to check off your ethnicity.
Right.
And at this point, they didn't have a two or more races box. You could select white,
One, right.
and you could check Asian. And I was really confused about which one to check. And the entire class thought it was a joke, and I was dead serious. I was like, I don't know which box I'm supposed to check right here. Then, you know, it just.
How have you dealt with that throughout the years? What did you start doing, and what?
It's funny. I brought it up to my dad. And he was like, when in doubt, go with your mom. Like, like it makes you think about that Dave Chappelle joke from his most recent stand-up where he's talking about training his kids. He's like, and if they come for us, what are you going to do? He's like, squint our eyes and stand next to mom. My dad was just like, go with your mother. Like, just side with that. And I was like, all right, Pop. Like, and I believe it. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, me, and I just think this is the way that it's worked out, that I've only dated black women, and not to say that I have a preference, it's just the way that it's worked out. So I've never had that conversation, you know, bringing home somebody outside my race and getting a look or anything like that. So did your parents ever say anything to you when you brought somebody?
I grew up in a family where my uncle's in an interracial marriage. I have another uncle who's gay, who's passed away now. I have on both sides uncles in interracial relationships. So it was something that I grew up with seeing. So it was never like an issue for my parents. I think that also, like it's kind of wild. So we grew up in PG County. I grew up in PG County.
Right.
I went to schools that were like 90% black. I went to a HBCU.
Right.
And strangely enough, I ended up marrying a white woman. I don't know what that means. You know, I love all, especially I love my black women. Like, you know what I mean? I ride for y'all all day. And I would have been gladly married to one too. Like, it was never a thing of preference, and it was never a thing where my parents were like trying to drive me to, this is who you need to be with. It was never like that. And I've always been the type of person that I'm always out searching for something that I haven't, you know, really experienced like that. You know what I mean? Something else, just like the show, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how I ended up marrying who I did. You know, and I felt like, you know, it wasn't a race thing. It was, you know, this is the person that meshes well with me. Like, I always felt like if you can, if you know, if your girl doesn't get on your nerves all the time, then that's like the one. Like,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, like, her ethnicity, her skin tone, like none of that.
They all have that in common. That's all. That's the common part of love,
right?
right?
Like that's it. That's the like threshold.
And I
girl
think
and your mom, they know how to get on you like nobody else on the entire planet, man.
And I think that us as guys, I think we all face the issue of, okay, when you go to meet your girl or the girl you're dating, her dad. So me, I mean, it's already an intimidating factor anyway.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But for you, since, you know, what would have been your experiences in that situation?
Yeah, it's so funny. Like, so because now I'm a dad to 3 daughters, I understand his perspective as well. I think, you know, growing up, I used to think, you know, I'm kind of like, I'm the shit. Like, you know what I mean? Any father should want their daughter to be with me. You know what I mean? That was kind of my general disposition. I'm not a dog like that. Like, I'm a good dude. And I think that, you know, when I met my wife's husband, my wife's father, it actually took a couple years for that to happen. So for a while, like, they weren't accepting of it, you know, for whatever reason. Eventually, you know, they kind of came around, and so we met, and, you know, we've kind of had those discussions trying to get to like an understanding of why things were the way they were. Mm-hmm. But like, we're also like we work on, and it's always a work in progress, like trying to get beyond that and just be family.
Right.
But it's always been kind of a struggle for me, because it's like, yo, like, you know, I check all the boxes. College graduate, I got a job, like, I can provide. I'm a good dude. Like, I'm not out there running around the streets. Like, what's the problem? You know what I mean? Right. So like trying to get past that has been a struggle, but you know, it's also the life I chose too. So I got to look at it that way. But then also having daughters, I understand that no man is good enough for their daughter. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. And no matter
also
what,
that part of it too.
Man, but we got 4 fathers of cumulative 4 daughters. In here.
Yeah.
It's so many girls, man. Between all my friends, straight up, like, sorry to derail for
no, you're good.
Like, yo, between my closest friends, yo. So you have a daughter. I have another friend, my man PJ, who has 3 girls.
Whitney.
My best friend Brandy has a daughter. My my boy Loren, his wife is pregnant with their first, a girl. So we got like enough to field like a basketball team. You know what I mean? All-star squad, all girls.
There you go.
The same age, bro. Let's go.
I mean, it's funny because one of my boys who he was one of the first out of our group of friends to have a kid, and him and his wife, they had a son first, and our group of friends always joke that we wish that he had a daughter first, like just cause
the young
like
players,
man. But it's funny because things have worked around themselves, and he now has 2 daughters. To go along, we're like, all right, everything works out in the end,
right?
But nah, man, like being the oldest of 4 kids, and I have 2 younger sisters. And seeing how my dad has interacted with boys that come through the house, how me and my other brother have felt about boys coming by the house and everything, it's kind of funny because we got two sisters and we treat both of them very differently. And one of them, it's kind of like, oh, you're willing to deal with that? Like, more power to you.
Right.
And then the other one, and
thank you for taking her off.
right. And actually, congrats to her. Right. Found herself someone who's willing to just take that on for the rest of his life.
Yes.
And shout out to my man Quincy. He's from South Africa. So we're talking about like, we're just mixing races, you know? But then we also got my baby sister who basically no one's good enough for that. And
she's the baby. She's
the baby, and
that's the last line of defense for your dad, right there.
All I'm saying, and you know, this probably shouldn't be recorded, but you know, if someone goes missing because they were messing with my baby sister like that, you know, they went missing.
Exactly, they went missing.
You probably don't need to look into it too far.
Yo, I'm not looking forward to when my daughter's date. Yo, I'm dreading it already. It's like I get the stories like, oh, they tried to kiss me, or this boy was saying he's my girlfriend.
What?
Yo, I can't
Square
even
up.
deal with this right now, man.
Square up.
And I mean, that's the thing. So one, again, like we said, no one's ever gonna be good for your daughter. One, for two reasons. One, because you knew how you were coming of age.
Truth.
And two,
Facts.
you don't want that to be your daughter.
Yep.
So, like Chris Rock said, you got one job.
Right.
Keep her off the pole.
Exactly.
Yep.
But he also said, like, whoever you hate will end up in your family.
Exactly.
So it's like, yo, you homophobic, like you gonna have
You're
like,
you're right.
Yeah. It's funny how that kind of stuff works out.
Yep.
So, do you notice any cultural differences when you first start?
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's shift to that. So what's your major cultural difference, or what do you speak on it?
All right. So I'll give you one example. If we ever have a get together, so in my family, like get togethers probably start at like 4, 5, 4, 5, 6. It's a range where it starts, right? And there's no end time. Like people, it ends when people leave. You know what I'm saying?
And sometimes they don't leave.
And my wife's family, anything that we have to plan is like you got to give them the exact time, and they will show 15 minutes before that, right? And then they will leave like, 10 minutes before it ends. Like it's a very structured thing. You know what I'm saying? There's no loosey
stadium traffic.
There's no loosey goosey.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's one example.
Do you find there's a language barrier with the food as well?
Yeah, if I'm being honest, it's a difference. It's just different, and of course I prefer the way my family's food is because that's just what I'm used to.
Right. You're raised on.
There's also but good dishes that I get peeped from my wife's side of the family.
Right.
And then there's also like there's family members in my wife's side of the family. They're from like Italy and other places that have like really dope dishes or just cultures that are really cool. We're really close with one of my wife's cousins. They're actually my kids' godparents, and like this one particular cousin, his wife, her dad is from Italy, and like he has his own wine cellar at his house.
Nice.
Makes his own wine, stuff like that, and they actually invited us over. Gave me wine right out the barrel. I'm not gonna get that in my family. We don't have those kinds of, cultural things, and to be a part of that is dope.
Yeah, right. That's super dope.
Exactly.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? Like that's the value in going outside of your community, because you learn a lot.
Yeah, right. Everybody does everything different, or we do it the same.
Right.
I know this was gonna be an intriguing topic. So I had asked a couple people some questions that I work with that I knew, just to see. I told them what the topic was going to be about, and I had them. It was like, if you had one question to give me to ask or speak on something, what would you speak of? So I was talking to an older lady that I work with, and she was wondering. She's like, back in the day, white women were seen as forbidden fruit. Because first I asked her, I was like, why do you think people date outside their race? And she's older, she grew up in that. She's like, well, you talk, and she was mainly focused on a black man with a white woman. And she was like, she thinks that it's because the forbidden fruit thing. Like, you're not allowed to touch them. You're not allowed to look at her. Can't whistle at her. We know what happened when that supposedly happened.
Right.
It's against the law to do any of that. Touch hands, whatever. So she thought that's the main reason why that was so intriguing. It's like, I want what I can't have. I gotta do all these things because now it's a challenge for me. And obviously there's, we feel like, and just in the world that we live in today, we would see it as, sometimes white status is better than your black status. So that's, it's a status thing now. Now I'm dating up. Now I'm up here now because I'm with this person. So she was saying that she felt like these are the reasons why. And I was like, I kind of knowing what era she's from, I was like, I mean, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And there was still some aggression behind that, or or oppression, whatever. Because I know where she's been. So do you think that don't even have to leave it at a black or white thing? We can just leave it at a interracial thing in general. But do you think that people date outside their race just as a status, sometimes as a status quo, or is it a cultural thing? Like, you're intrigued by this culture, so this is where you want to be, or
you want to handle that first?
I think that her points are valid, and I'm sure that there are relationships that fall into those areas. That's not, from my own personal experience, that's not, what I've seen, even from people around me, other relationships. I think that people date for pretty much the same reasons. You know what I mean? I don't know about the subconscious, things that they're not that they're doing. Mm-hmm. People are attracted to each other, man, for lots of different reasons. Sometimes people are attracted for people for what they have. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's for who they are and what they look like. That's what happens no matter like what race you are. And I think more often than not, people who choose to be in interracial relationships are, in just average relationships, just like people who are in, same race relationships.
Just average relationships.
Right? Exactly. Everyone's average and unhappy.
Right.
Like, it's like, nah, I love you, baby. I'm good.
Do you want to address it?
Yeah, I mean, like, I totally can feel where some of that may be coming from. And you can't discredit that there could be some people out there that's, the reason why. But from my personal experience with like my parents, my uncle's family, my uncle Kyle and his wife Ashley, like the attraction has nothing to do with the fact that they were like so different. My dad told me, because I was talking about, I was talking with him this weekend about what we were going to be talking about on the podcast this week. And he was like, it's funny because he was like, I just saw your mom as just this beautiful girl that I was fortunate enough to be with.
Exactly.
And I didn't understand why people were questioning it because that's what he was getting. And to him, it was like, he was like, no, my girl's better than all these other joints. So like, that's all that I care about. Like, mine's the best. It didn't matter that she was like a Filipino girl or not white or whatever, so.
And here's what attracted me. Sorry, I'm going to derail. Here's what attracted me to my wife, yo. Like, look, this is her CD book. Like,
pulling out the biggest CD book I've ever seen.
To a random page, right?
Okay.
In this CD, look.
Belly.
Read what's in there.
I see How High.
Loveland. I see Busta Rhymes. Genesis.
And Shania Twain's greatest hits.
Right, yo, all on the same page.
On the same. This is one page out of Bree's CD book.
Boom.
Like,
that's
Philly's Most Wanted. True Hill.
Get Rich or Die Trying.
Get Rich or Die Trying by 50 Cent. This is Eminem.
Yeah.
Like, yo, this is straight up. This is why I married her, yo. Like, this is what she's like. So, like, if you just imagine like a person who has these kinds of tastes,
and you're like, yo, that lines up with me.
Exactly.
What
right.
What does any of that other stuff matter?
Exactly. She had like shit that I wasn't like up on, like back then, like, she had like Justin Timberlake's first CD. Like, I wasn't buying that joint. Like, I was like, this dude from NSYNC, this joint's gonna be whack. And then I put it in, I was like, oh shit, like, for
It's
real?
actually kind of dope, right?
Oh, all these producers? Was Timberland on the first album?
Nah, I don't think Tim was on the first album.
First
He was on
album,
the
yeah.
second
Tim
one.
did Cry Me a River. Tim did
That's not the first album.
the Justified.
Just Cry Me a River's not Justified, is it?
Yeah, this first album Justified had Like
Nah,
I Love
Cry Me a
You.
River is Future Sex
Sing-
Love Sounds.
No, it's the first one.
It is?
Yeah, the very first one. So that was the getting to the music portion.
Yeah.
The dueling aspect of why this album that he just released was so good was because the Neptunes and Timbaland went back at it head to head to try to have the best track on the album. So yeah, because the first album had Senorita, Like I Love You, Cry Me a River was the follow up to that. Then it was like, I can't remember, but he released like 4 years. So that, you fact checking?
I am fact checking because I don't know.
Appreciate it.
No, there you go.
But yeah, no, I mean, but it's like, if anyone has like those kind of disparate tastes and are kind of afraid to step outside of their, whatever their quote unquote zone is, like, I respect that, and that's attractive to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? No
Right.
matter like what race you are, if you have that kind of diversity, you know, in your life, that's dope. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Phil, you were right. Justified, first joint. Future Sex Love Sounds, second joint. Cry Me a River's on Justified. Senorita, Rock Your Body, those joints.
Yeah.
Tim had a couple. Yeah, that was probably Tim's biggest one on there. Probably still one of Justin's biggest songs.
I'm confusing
Yeah.
what goes around comes around with
Yeah.
Cry Me a River.
That's still a great
Yeah,
song too.
exactly.
Ebony had told me the story about one of her a friend of a friend, and this goes, I think, to the shallow aspect of the interracial thing. The girl wanted to be artificially inseminated. She wanted to go to a sperm bank and have kids and
is
get
this girl?
pregnant.
What is this? Whose girl is this?
This is a friend of a friend.
Got you. All right.
So I don't know the girl. The story when told to me, I don't know if she even knew the person. But so the girl wanted to have kids. So she goes to the sperm bank to pick out a suitable seed, and she picked an Indian, a person of Indian descent. Why? Because of his hair. Because the Indian culture. They have, not Native American, but Indian. They have
from India,
nice fine hair,
Mm-hmm.
and she wanted her baby to have nice hair. So that to me, that's the shallow aspect of anything. And that's not even interracial dating, but that's a
yeah, man. It's people out here trying to engineer their looks.
right. Yeah, someone was talking about being able to, like, in the next like handful of years or whatever, we're gonna be able to engineer like our kids and blah blah blah. And my whole thing with that is like, come on, mom and dad, you could have made me like 4 inches taller.
I wish I was a
we
little
engineer
bit
some
taller. I wish
maybe my SAT scores have been a little bit better.
Exactly. I'm trying to dunk.
Right.
Yo, it's like, no one would have been expecting that. They're like, oh, this half white, half Asian kid, what's he gonna do? And then I get above the
Man,
They're like, oh no.
But I think that goes to another aspect of everything, as far as, when black people have known to have, what they say about our hair, coarse, nappy, and so to have that mentality of, I don't want my kid to have that.
Lil Wayne was killing Nigerians.
It's like, I gotta have this, because I think it's a status thing. Like that speaks on the status of it. Like,
but the people who seek value in that, they're the ones who have like the issue. You know what I mean?
Right. But then you gotta remember, when you procreate, things can go either way.
Yeah, you
exactly.
don't.
So
you don't really have control over it.
There is no confirmation that just because, like, my dad has blue eyes, none of his kids got blue eyes. Like, it would be game over if me and my brother did. Like, you better.
But then, like, somebody like 3 generations down will show up with blue eyes, and they'll be like, "What the hell?
Where that come from?" Right?
Like someone on maybe my sister's like grandkid or something. Mm-hmm. So it's like them, half Filipino, half white, and a South African, and then their kids, and then maybe one of their grandkids, and they'd be like, where did this come from?
Exactly.
Like,
anybody who's cheating?
And we just tell them they're from Wakanda.
Right, exactly. Yep.
How did you guys meet? At the Black Panther movie premiere.
He was wearing all kente clothes.
I looked in your mom's eyes, and I knew she was the one. Looked at your dad's shirt and realized he was down with the culture.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And that's where you came from. I think that this subject is definitely this is part one of many of this topic, because there'll be more to come of it, obviously, and especially what's going on in the news now. We have a lot of current affairs or topics that revolve around this, right, and revolve around other aspects of this, as far as the racism thing, and we'll get into racism's a whole nother ball of wax, another conversation we can talk about. So I'm sure we may all have our own stories or experience of being with somebody, but it's healthy dialogue
yeah, absolutely.
We're no experts on it like we say we are, but we just talking about it
a lot. Yeah, when you're in love, you can't control that, man. You can't control what you love.
Definitely not.
That's one of the few things, man. So sometimes you just got to accept people, what their choices are.
Exactly.
One of the things I've always joked about, and it's like, because a lot of truth said in jest, right? Like, the world would be a much better place once everyone's some kind of brown, which just means everyone's been messing with everybody.
Right.
It's just one of those, and that's partially me coming from a mixed race family. Like, I think that my perspective is, I got a leg up on certain people just because I have multiple perspectives that I was raised on. So I think that a lot of the disconnects that we have nowadays, maybe future generations won't have to deal with it if you got people not being afraid, or not necessarily being afraid, but if they're just take themselves where love takes them.
So, and then before we wrap this thing up, speaking of love, my goal, and I'm sure you got a lot of boys and a lot of girls out there, CB, that want you to find love yourself. So, and try, like, a couple of them have chimed in and says we got to find my man CB some love out here.
Wow.
So
don't get catfish though, dog.
Oh yeah,
no promises.
love
Love is love.
Love is love, right?
No matter what her Facebook profile looks like.
Right.
So we'll see what we can do about that one day.
We can delve into it.
Okay.
Delve into it.
Thank you for listening. We are something else.
We are something else.
Check you next week.